The philosopher Camus and Sartre raised the question of whether or not a man can condemn himself. The black existentialist philosopher, who is pragmatic, Frantz Fanon, answered the question. He said the man could not. Camus and Sartre don't answer the question. We in SNCC tend to agree with Fanon. A man cannot condemn himself. If he did, he would then have to inflict punishment upon himself. White America cannot condemn herself for her criminal acts against black America. So black people have done it. You stand condemned. The institutions that function in this country are clearly racist. They are built upon racism. And how do we then begin to clear away the obstacles that we have in this society to make us live like human beings? I maintain that every civil rights bill in this country was passed for white people, not for black people. For example, I am black. I know that. I also know that while I am black, I am a human being. Therefore, I have the right to go into any public place. White people don't know that. Every time I try to go in a public place, they stop me. They stop me. Some boys had to write a bill to tell the white man, he's a human being, don't stop him. That was a bill for white man, not me. I know I could vote all the time, that it wasn't a privilege but my right. And every time I tried, I was shot, killed, jailed, beaten, economically deprived. Somebody had to write a bill to tell white people, when a black man comes to vote, don't bother him. That bill was for white people. I know I can live any place I want to live. If it's white people across this country who are incapable of allowing me to live where I want, you need a civil rights bill, not me. The failure is due to whites' incapacity to deal with their own problems inside their own communities. Missionaries were sent off to Africa with the attitude that blacks were automatically inferior. When the missionaries came to civilize us because we were uncivilized, to educate us because we were uneducated, to give us some literate studies because we were illiterate, they charged a price. The missionaries came with the Bible. We had the land. When they left, they had the land and we still have the Bible. That's been the rationalization for Western civilization as it's moved across the world, stealing, plundering, and raping everybody in its path. There's one rationalization, is that the rest of the world is uncivilized, and they are, in fact, civilized. A man was picked as a slave for one reason: the color of his skin. Black was automatically inferior, inhuman, and therefore fit for slavery. So the question of whether or not we are individually suppressed is nonsensical. It's a downright lie. We are oppressed as a group because we are black, not because we're lazy or apathetic, not because we're stupid or we stink, not because we eat watermelon and have good rhythm. We are oppressed because we are black. In order to escape that oppression, we must wield group power we have, not the individual power this country sets as a criterion under which a man can get into it. That's what's called integration. You do what I tell you to do, and I'll let you sit at the table with us. Well, if you believe in integration, you can come live in Watts and send your children to ghetto schools. Let's talk about that. If you believe in integration, we're going to have to start adopting some white people to live in our neighborhoods. Get hip to that. Can white people move inside their own community and start tearing down racism, which in fact where it exists? White people make sure that we live in ghettos in this country. White institutions do that. They must change in order for America to really live on a basic principle of human relationships. A new society must be born. Racism must die. The economic exploitation by this country of non-white people around the world must die. Frederick Douglass said that youth should fight to be the leaders today. God knows we need leaders today, because the men who run this country are sick. We must begin to start building universities where we control. We need to be able to do that. To fight for the basic institutions that perpetuate racism by destroying them and building new ones. That's the real question that faces us today. It's the dilemma because most of us don't know how to work. White society has caused the failure of nonviolence. I was always surprised at Quakers who came to Alabama to counsel me to be nonviolent, but didn't have the guts to tell Jim Clark to be nonviolent. See, that's what the nonviolence needs to be preached to Jim Clark, not to black people. Can you name a black man today who's killed anybody, white and still alive? This country assumes that if you're poor, that you are poor because of their own individual blight, or because they weren't born on the right side of town, or they had too many children, or they went in the army too early, or because their father was a drunk, or they didn't care about school. They made a mistake. That's nonsense. Poverty is well calculated in this country. Poverty is well calculated in this country. And the reason why the poverty programs won't work, because the calculators of the poverty are administrating it. This country knows what power is. It knows what black power is, because it deprives black people of it for over 400 years. White people associate black power with violence because of their own inability to deal with blackness. If we said Negro power, nobody gets scared. Everybody support it. If we said powerful colored people, everybody be for that. But the word black that bothers people in this country, and that's their problem, not mine. That's the lie that says that anything black is bad. If we were to be real and honest, we would have to admit that most people in this country see things as black and white. We live in a country that is geared that way. White people would have to admit that they were afraid to go into the black ghetto at night. They're afraid because they get beat up, lynched, looted, cut up. It happens to black people inside the ghetto every day. Incidentally, the only time people talk about nonviolence is when black people, move to defend themselves against white people. Black people cut themselves in the ghetto, every night. Nobody talks about nonviolence. White people beat up black people every day. Nobody talks about nonviolence. But as soon as black people start to move, the double standard comes into being. You can't defend yourself. You show me a black man who advocates aggressive violence who'll be able to live in this country. Show him to me. I look at Dr. King on television every single day, and I say to myself, there is a man who is desperately needed in this country. There is a man full of love. There is a man full of mercy. There is a man full of compassion. But every time I see Lyndon Johnson on television, I say, Martin, baby, you got a long way to go. We are on the move for our liberation. We are tired of trying to prove things to white people. We are tired of trying to explain to white people that we're not going to hurt them. We are concerned with getting the things we want, the things we have to be able to function. The question is, will white people overcome their racism to allow for that to happen in this country? If not, we have no choice but to say very clearly, move on over, or we're going to move over you.